Welcome to the first video for Clark and Miller Teachers, where I basically summarize a sort of academic article on English teaching that's just caught my eye recently and I thought was worth talking about, and summarizing and saving you the hassle of having to read academic articles all the time, because a lot of people don't like it, or more importantly, don't have the time. And I love reading these at breakfast. So so this one is called Organising Talk in Group Speaking Tests, Learning from High Scoring Students by Michael Stephenson and Graham Hall. It's from ELT Journal last year. And so it's basically all about collaborative speaking exams, or sections of exams where you have a collaborative speaking task. Some English exams, like there's a Chinese one called CET, SET. There's a Spanish oral test. I think it's a foreign language oral test of the Spanish baccalaureate. That's given as an example in this paper, and obviously the most famous being things like the Cambridge CFE and CAE exams. All of these exams and more have a sort of collaborative task where our students have to sort of take a test, do a speaking test together in a group of 2 or 3 or even 4. And basically the idea behind these collaborative speaking tasks is to have the students working together to solve a problem or reach some sort of conclusion in a sort of non-hierarchical setting. All well and good, very good. Without the teacher or an examiner there, you can see language at work in a bit more of a natural way. Great way to do an exam. Lovely. So this paper outlines a few problems we can have as teachers preparing our students for these exams. There are 3 main issues that are sort of confronted in this paper. Non-language factors, this is one. Non-language factors can really limit students' performance. So it's not just about the language, but things like self-confidence, anxiety, and just the type of personality our students are. Some people love working with other people, some people don't. And, that's going to affect this part of the exam. Point 2, conversation, natural conversation isn't mathematical. It isn't neat turn-taking, right? Turn-taking. When people work together and talk and use language together, we have all sorts of weird stuff going on, false starts, ums and ers, interruptions, silences, changes of direction, speakers talking at the same time, speakers failing to pick up their turn, speakers failing to pass on their turn. It's messy as hell. And this isn't, directly related to language proficiency at all. This is something a lot more complicated and psychological. Finally, the third point here, the third obstacle to learners in this sort of type of exam is their over-reliance on discourse markers. Now, this may come as a bit of a surprise. Discourse markers are things like, I agree to some extent, but, or I'm sorry, could you say that again? Or what do you think? And these are, really useful when talking in an exam and conducting discourse. But previous... Oh, God, my cat's come out. I'm going to come back. Right, back. There's always a cat. Yes, so these things are useful to some extent, but previous research surprisingly shows that, well, maybe not surprisingly, but previous research shows that these phrases don't deal with the invisible rules that govern group interaction. That's the terminology they use. So, I think what they're saying is group interaction is a lot more messy than just being able to slip in a discourse marker and having it work perfectly. So, what happened? Well, in this paper, the writers, Stephenson and Hall, they examined a bunch of videos of students All students at around IELTS 6 or more taking a group speaking test. So all of these students were pretty high level students in terms of what we normally refer to as language proficiency. And they looked at what they were doing and what the high scoring students did in particular, and compared it to what the low scoring students did. What did the high scoring guys get right and what did the low scoring guys get wrong? And they were focusing a lot on things like speeding the conversation up when needed and slowing it down when needed. So it was all about the ebb and the flow of the discourse. So the question on everyone's lips: what did the good students do? What made a strong group interaction? What kind of language did they use? Okay, so there are 4 points here, 4 things that I kind of managed to single out from the paper that good high-scoring students did in group collaborative tasks in a speaking exam. Okay, 1, they used what the authors of the paper called interrogative requesting formats. So these were phrases like can we, or should we, or can you, or should we, I suppose. Versus, so these were like the things the high scoring students did versus what the low scoring students did, high entitlement terms. I love that phrase, high entitlement terms. High entitlement terms are things like basically declaratives, like we should do this now, we're doing this, bit more bossy, basically. So that's the first one, can we and should we versus we're doing this. Secondly, high-scoring students explicitly talked about the speaking task itself, whilst the low-scoring students would. The example they give in this one is one of them just whispered, "We're running out of time," as if to hide something from the examiner. Very strange behaviour. So yeah, explicitly talking about the task. I'm going to come back to these issues in a minute in more detail. 3, the high-scoring students explained the reasons for their requests for moving things faster or moving things slower. So they would give reasons why we should go faster now or we should go slower now, rather than just saying that they should. And 4th, the good students, the high scoring students, when it was time to sort of delegate something to somebody, they would name them, they would say their name, and they would delegate movement of the discourse to people, whereas the low scoring students would just sort of leave things hanging and there'd be an awkward silence. Okay, so those are the 4 things that the high scoring students did versus the low scoring students in collaborative tasks in speaking exams. And yep, it all makes sense to me, it all scans. And I think from this paper there are basically 3 takeaways. So this is the part you should skip to at the beginning of the video if you find this stuff boring, because here are the 3 takeaways. 1, students should be able to talk about the task itself. When you're in a speaking exam like this and you're given a task and you're asked to decide where you're going to put the pizza parlor in the town or whatever, it's very easy for you to want to feel you have to pretend to actually be a town planner or actually be an investment banker and be in the role. But the thing is, it's fine. It's fine to talk about being in the exam because you are in an exam and you're not going to lose points for talking about being in an exam. So that's something that's is quite important, and we should let our students know this. It's fine to talk about the time running out. It's fine to say, we haven't finished this part of the task yet. It's okay to go meta. All right, that's 1. Talk about the task. 2, take control. Take control, but be polite. Being assertive is good. Saying things like, okay, Barry, where do you think we should build the pizzeria? Or, Sonia, invest in the shark farm or the gym? Delegating a bit. But remember that we should tell our students to be polite while doing this. Remember the can we, can you, should we, shouldn't we. It's easy to be impolite when you feel insecure about your second language. I know I have loads of times. Sometimes I get stressed because you get language anxiety, and then you just want to be really pushy and assert yourself in as direct way as possible, but it's not good for the exam. Modals, can we, could you, should we, shouldn't we? These sorts of things are not only polite, but when you confer with the other students, you're creating solidarity and group affiliation. And solidarity and group affiliation, these earn points in exams, because the examiner is looking for this sort of collaboration. It's a collaborative task. There goes the paper. Finally, takeaway number 3. Give reasons. If you're making a request, if you're trying to move things on, if you're trying to slow things down, give a reason. The high-scoring students always gave reasons for it, and that also helps with the solidarity and group affiliation. Can we move on because we're running out of time? Before we move on, shouldn't we answer this question first because we haven't answered it yet? Becauses and maybe some so's. But yeah, giving reasons for your assertive decisions. Okay, that's it. So yeah, let your students be comfortable talking about the test dynamics openly. Let them be assertive in conducting it, but politely, and by giving reasons. That's it. So that's the first one, Organising Talk and Group Speaking Tests, Learning from High-Scoring Students by Michael Stephenson and Graham Hall. This is the first Clark and Miller Teachers video. I hope there will be more. And thanks for watching. And yeah, I guess it's YouTube, so, like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. But, just take something valuable from this video and use it with your students. And I hope we get more success in the classroom as a result. Cool. Thanks for everything. Obviously, I can't finish the video, so I'm just going to finish the video now. Bye.